Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Collins Podcast. Today, I have the immense pleasure of getting to interview Joe Davis, who has traveled the road, both figuratively and literally, of pro wrestling in the indie circuits. Been with an insurance agent, been in the marketing world, so he has a unique scope throughout the marketing branch, if you will. Joe, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Appreciate it.
So, Joe, I'll hop right into it. So, you and I are kind of both wrestling fans. Got to ask, who's your favorite wrestler?
My favorite wrestler has always been Bret Hart. Ever since I was 7 years old, Bret Hart was the one that got me into it. And to this day, I think I got my work desk here. Still got my Bret Hart action figure from when I was a kid. He's always been my number one. So absolutely.
Oh, shoot, yeah, Bret Hart's a solid choice. So, what was your favorite adversary or match that you would say for Bret Hart?
Um, I a lot of them. I loved all his matches he had with Shawn Michaels. They had 3 or 4 classics. Obviously, ended with the Montreal Screwjob, which was the most infamous. But they actually had some really good matches. I think best match I've ever seen was WrestleMania 12 back in '96 in Anaheim with him and Michaels in the Iron Man match. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Any like him for the Stone Cold match where Stone Cold passed out?
Yeah, the Stone Cold double switch, obviously a classic. Those were great matches too. They had 2 or 3 great matches in that run. So absolutely.
Oh, good deal. And well, before you got into wrestling, I know you had an insurance background with a competitor of mine with farmers, but kind of speak to how you got into insurance in the beginning and what it was like.
Yeah, so it was by accident, which I think a lot of insurance agents, that's our story. It just kind of happened. So got out of college, needed a job. So a company was hiring at a call center. Not the same company I ended up working for, but a different company. And I went. I'm 22. And at that point, $12 an hour sounded really good. So why not? Got into it. My buddy, his dad owned an insurance agency, a franchise, went and worked for him, worked my way up to agency manager as he went into retirement and ended up buying my own agency and owned that for several years before I was able to fortunately sell it for profit. And then went into online marketing for insurance agents, up until about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
Gotcha. So you really been both on the entrepreneurship side, the ownership, running a business. What would be the biggest thing that you would say to a new agent? Hey, do this. This is the best thing to do for your business.
Don't be afraid. And when I say that, you can take that multiple ways. Number one, don't be afraid of calling those leads, right? Don't be afraid of prospecting. Don't be afraid of buying leads. You put the work in and, be a salesman at the end of the day. Marketing is I always thought marketing and sales was that's the business. The business is not insurance. The business is marketing and sales. As we all know, you're not just selling the product, you're selling yourself and you're selling the benefits. Right. So I think that's the biggest thing is, your marketability, and just grinding, and so many new agents get just shut down, so much at first that they want to give up, and I always had the mindset of for every 10 times I ask for that sale, I'm going to get one. If I'm not even good, I'm going to get one. Right. And that's all you got to do is, all right, well, that person said no. All right. That's one off. All right. I'm going to get one in the next 9. Right. And that's, you got to keep going and you're going to get better at it. And all of a sudden that 1 out of 10 turns into a 6 or 7 out of 10, you hope.
Oh, absolutely. And so I'm sure you probably implemented some systems and processes in your agency. How important were those to getting you taking it from a sales position to a business?
Absolutely critical. I still have them to this day. And I actually use it in my wrestling business too. I always had a hierarchy, right? I always had a plan. I always had, all right, so for this specific process, and I would boil it down. We sold auto, home, life. We did the investments. We did all of it. And I was always, all right, so for car insurance, this is our process. For home insurance, this is our process. You got to separate, right? You got to segment everything, because that's huge. And the biggest thing too is if you have staff, at least everybody needs to be on the same page. You can't just wing it. All right. That might work for a little bit. It's not going to work long term.
Oh, that's good advice. Well, and I know you've taken that skill set from insurance to marketing to health insurance, insurance adjacent, and it just seems like you've always had the marketing. So the unique thing that we're talking today, as I'm seeing you in your wrestling career, that's probably the purest form of promotion, right? Because you have to suspend your disbelief.
100%. 100%. It was funny. I started in wrestling. It was kind of the same. I was still doing the marketing. About four years ago, I guess. I was like, I really want to get into this business. So I hit up a buddy. He's like, yeah, come on down. We'll teach you how to put together a ring, and you can carry some boards. I'm like, cool. All right. So I did it. And, not to get off on a tangent, I actually graduated from college in communications for sports broadcasting. That was my ultimate goal. So I'm there, I'm putting things together. And one of the guys that was announcing, he said, my other commentator just bailed. Do you know anybody that knows how to broadcast? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So that's how that started. And 4 years ago, I'm like, I want to be a manager. I want to brand my own team. And this comes back to your marketing question. That's all I do. Sometimes my guys aren't the best. I'm not the best talker out there, but I brand it well. Perception's reality, and that's all of marketing. I don't care what it is. It can be insurance, it can be banking, it can be wrestling. Perception is reality. So if you make people think, excuse my French, you're the most badass out there, if you build that enough, they're going to believe it, right? And then you got to back it up with your performance.
Oh, absolutely. And I can imagine as you have the title manager, I'm district manager here.
Yeah.
Your job is to really enhance the image and enhance the business of those wrestlers or of those agents that you're dealing with. What's one giant tool that you use to help those agents?
The biggest thing, usually I get guys, or they put guys with me that they just know how to wrestle, right? They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to market. That's the furthest thing. All they want to do is show up the day of the show. They want to do their job. They want to get paid. They want to go home, which is fine, but you can't build a brand long-term that way. You have to realize the opportunities in front of you. Social media obviously is the biggest thing. So you got to get the fan pages out there. You got to do videos. A lot of guys, believe it or not, a lot of wrestlers are very insecure with talking in front of a camera, which, you think these big, I have a couple guys that are jacked. You've seen pictures, but they do not like talking. So, instead of trying to teach them how to talk, I talk for them. I brand for them. And it's not just in the ring for that 15 minutes. My wife hates it because every single night I'm on my phone. I'm chatting with these guys. We're building the next plan. I got a show coming up Saturday. That's all set. I'm thinking about a month from now. Whereas these guys aren't doing that. So, as much as wrestling, let's say what it is, might be a scripted business, it's still something where I really am a manager. I really am helping with their bookings. I'm negotiating their pay. I'm getting us out there. And that's probably 80% of my job that people don't even think about.
Oh no, and it's huge in the insurance industry. I can, you can attest to it too. Unless you're marketing, there's not much walk-in traffic, and there wouldn't be walk-in traffic to a wrestling ring. You just set it up in the middle of nowhere.
No one's going to show up, and that's why I think, insurance is. And I haven't been in a ton of different industries in sales, but I would say insurance has to be one of the toughest. People don't want to just come in and buy insurance. We know that. So my experience with getting people to come in and talk to me with insurance absolutely has helped me with wrestling. And it's invaluable experience. And it is, at the end of the day, it's all marketing and sales.
So have you ever thought about an insurance gimmick to bring over to the wrestling ring?
Well, I haven't. However, I will say one of my first times out there, I wore, and I'll never do it again, khakis and a red shirt. And I took my jacket off in the ring, and I had the entire crowd chanting Jake.
Oof.
And I won't say the company, but it's pretty easy. And I was like, oh, and no, that was not the company I worked for. It hurt bad. And I was like, well, I'll never wear khakis again.
Heck, we'll have to get you a shaved head and a blazer.
Something, right?
Oh shoot, no. And so what's the best part about when you're in front of a crowd? Is it performing as a heel? Is it being a face? So for those that don't know, if you can kind of explain face, heel, and
Yeah. So face is your good guy, heel's your bad guy, right? Obviously, the reality of the world, it can get blurred sometimes. Insider scoop, heel is so much easier than face. So as a manager, at least. And I love, the biggest thing is you don't care if you get cheered or you get booed. You just want a reaction. What kills you is when you don't have a reaction at all. I had a show recently where a lot of stuff happened and I was doing everything I could. There was no reaction. And that was the worst. I'd rather have people, I've had people throw stuff at me. I love that. That's great. Throw stuff at me. At least I know I'm getting under your skin. I remember a couple times I had a match where I was so hated that the wrestler's wife we were against was on ringside cursing the heck out of me, trying to slap me. Because she believed, she knows the business because her husband's in it, but she believed my character so much, she hated me. And that's the goal, right? Is to get that reaction, whether it's good or bad.
oh, that's good. No, and I think that just trying to parlay that back to our conversation on insurance, I think that's kind of the same goal for an agent, right? You're trying to get quotes out there. You're trying to get a yes or no. Maybe is probably the slowest road to nowhere, if you will, when it comes to it.
It's true. 100%. It's, getting ignored sucks, right? I mean, it sucks. So, especially in business and insurance, I just want, I want a yes or no. That's what I want. If you want nothing to do with me, just tell me no, and I can move on. You can move on. It's, I was pretty upfront with clients, especially if I felt a sales conversation was derailing a little bit. I would just straight up say, listen, I want to be respectful of your time and I want to be respectful of my own time. So if this isn't going to work, let's just save time now. And actually I've gotten sales off of that when I thought it was going downhill, because people respect that honesty.
Very, very good. And so I know you deal with a lot of wrestlers that are kind of in the Northeast, and do you ever have aspirations of really going quote unquote big with it, national, international?
I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Anybody that's in this business is lying. That's our goal, right? That's the goal. Now, hey, I'm 36. Crazier things have happened, but odds are it might not, and that's fine. But I'm always the type, and you probably, Keith, you get this too as an entrepreneur. If you don't have a big goal that you're chasing, whatever that is, you have no motivation. So even though the brain says, you know what, you're probably not going to make it to one of the big companies someday, if I don't have that goal in my head, I don't have the motivation to do it. So I've been very blessed to be able to compartmentalize that in my head. My brain knows one thing, but my heart knows another, and I can keep those separate. But yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have those goals, those dreams. We all do, I think.
No, and well, you can probably speak to this too, because we don't ever do anything in a vacuum, right? We have the world around us that just spins regardless of whether or not we want it to. So you had 2020 happen last year this time. A basketball game shut down, and then a day later, everything else shut down. So how did that affect the wrestling industry? How were you guys just, because I can't imagine in the indie scene that everybody was keen on social distancing at that point.
Well, I'll be really honest. 2020 was the best year of my wrestling career ever. And I'll tell you why this is. Shows shut down. We weren't allowed, okay? Because we might be indie wrestling, but we're still governed by athletic commissions, right? So there's fines involved. Like, we can get trouble. So I saw what was happening. I'll never forget when, like you said, the basketball game got canceled. I'm like, oh, wow, this is like for real. And I stopped, and it took me a couple weeks. Shows were getting canceled left and right. We were booked in Mississippi, Ohio, Indiana, you name it. And everybody's just stopped, right? And so nobody was doing any shows. Nobody was doing any promos. And for people that don't know promos, it's when a wrestler, somebody talks about an upcoming match or their character, story, whatever. And I said, we have an opportunity here. Because of my marketing background, I know social media, right? I know how to get views. What if, while everybody else is now taking this big break because of COVID, I keep going on videos and storylines that I just make up for my team, and we keep plugging. And for probably, gosh, I mean, my first show after the shutdown wasn't, I think, until end of July, August down in Pennsylvania, because there was a short little reopen, if you remember, out this way. So for that March to August, I was doing nothing but promoting my guys and my brand while nobody else was. And little did I know that was getting attention, because nobody else, usually my Facebook is filled, and it is now, with wrestlers doing show and nobody was doing anything. So I was like, all right, now we got eyes. Okay. So we did that, and it has now parlayed to where I get wrestlers messaging me to be part of Team JD. And it's crazy. I never thought I'd be at this point. Heck, I never thought I'd get paid for a show. And it's just like 2020 was the best thing that ever happened to my brand, because I saw an opportunity. And that's the biggest thing is the smart people do that. When they see an opportunity, take advantage of it, and 2020 was a great example of that.
Shoot, I'm going to have to start cutting promos on my insurance agent, trying to
Do
reach more. The best agent in Rochester, the best agent in Wino.
You got a belt. You got a belt right behind you.
Yeah, got the belt here. Got to break it out. Put that.
Absolutely.
Walk around. Hey, you want to be farmer's agent?
Yeah. Hey, I'll help you. I'll give you promo tips.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh heck, if you ever do any Rochester or Southern Minnesota shows in some podunk towns down here, you got to let me know, because
all right,
shoot, we'll battle for this belt or something. The main title.
Minnesota's on the list. I can tell you that. Right now.
Oh heck, yeah. No, I can only imagine the touring that you guys can do on the indie scene, because really, if you look at it, I'm guessing bingo halls and things of that nature, if you will, are the key for it. And every town has one, and the smaller the town, I found, is usually the more into the scene, if you will.
Big time, yeah. New York, we just are now opening for fans. So we've been running tapings though. Proper protocols. We're doing the temp checks, testing, all that. But I was last Saturday, we went to PA, who just pretty much almost fully opened up. And it was my first time in front of, we sold out. We literally ran out of, they brought rolling office chairs out from the place so people could sit. So they show up, and I'm telling you right now, and I'm telling everybody this, once everything starts opening slowly, these indie wrestling fans, man, we're hardcore. Like, we love wrestling, and we haven't been able to be at a show. These fans at least haven't been able to be at a show in a while. I mean, you're going to see sellouts for months. I really believe that, and that's exciting.
I believe so. I believe restaurants are going to do pretty well. But it's exciting time to get back into the world. But let me ask you this, because one of the biggest pivots I've seen, and the ability to adapt, is just huge, right? Whether it be insurance, wrestling, or anything in between. I saw a lot of cinematic matches, both from a WWE and AEW, and some were awesome, right? So I think of, like, I don't know if you like Stadium Stampede there. That was pretty neat. That you had The Undertaker and Styles for his last match. But then you had these just kind of clunkers like Money in the Bank. I mean, just throwing people off buildings. I don't know how you can suspend your disbelief there. Went
Yeah.
over the top.
It's, it's funny. I am the type, I do like the cinematic. It's, you have to separate. Like you just said, how can you suspend your disbelief when someone's getting, jacked off a building there? It's like, but in my mind, it's like, all right, let's look at this situation. It's 2020. All right. Take it for what it is. Just entertain me. You know what? Him getting thrown off that roof. I don't even remember. Was it R-Truth that got thrown off the roof? I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But it was funny. I was just like, oh, well, this is comical. Is it going to go down in wrestling history as one of the greatest matches ever? Of course not. But at that point, it was May. Like, nobody was doing anything. It was like, give me something. So I was entertained, but a couple of them were good. I thought Taker Styles at WrestleMania was great. Heck, I thought the one from AEW Sunday night. I don't know if you got to catch that. That was pretty good too.
The street fight.
Yeah, it was Sting and Darby Allin. I thought that was pretty well done. It's all experimenting. That's, these big companies like WWE and AEW, they've never been through this before. So they're trial and error too. They can't be perfect every time. So I did enjoy most of them. Yeah, some were comical, but it was fun.
So what would be on those same lines as a pivot? You've seen and you yourself pivoted, right? You went more into promos. Who was your best pivot this year? Would it be a Bray Wyatt to the Fiend? Would it be who kind of stuck out and was the breakthrough?
I mean, I don't know if it was a pivot. Bray Wyatt to Fiend was great. It's such a strong character, but like I said, I don't know if it's a pivot, but you got to give some credit to Drew McIntyre this year. For this man, number one, get his WrestleMania moment pretty much stolen with no fans, right?
Right.
And then be a strong, entertaining champion, head of the company, face of the company during a pandemic with no fans. If you watch that man's promos and in-ring stuff, he believed every word he was saying, and you could not tell he was talking to an empty audience. I think Drew McIntyre deserves some of the biggest credit in professional wrestling for the whole pandemic. Like I said, I don't know if it's a pivot, but I think it's, he needs credit because a lot of guys could not have carried the torch the way he did.
Oh, I completely agree. He went from kind of jobber, mid-card guy that was teaming with Dolph Ziggler to main event of WrestleMania. I think really what set him over the top was that Royal Rumble there, where Edge came back, and heck, I'm glad they gave Edge his due this year. So that was
that was fun. I think not that I have any insider advice because I don't work for WWE, but I think you're going to see another Drew McIntyre moment at WrestleMania with fans.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be cool to see fans back in the stadium. I think they're Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah, Tampa Bay. I think they are going to have 8,000 there, something like that. So enough to make some noise, and I think it'll be fun to watch.
Heck, the Thunderdome, that was a pivot too.
That was cool. I give them credit. I didn't think that thing would work, but the first time they did the Thunderdome, I was like, oh, all right. I got a little goosebump here. We got fans now, and that was cool.
Oh, entirely. Well, and going back to a little bit more to the business end of things on the insurance end. So we have all these pivots and kind of want to relate this back to that. What was a pivot that you had in your business? So you were doing something one way, and whether it be with the marketing end too, because I can imagine from 22 to where you are now, you picked up something that you implemented and kind of ran with it.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, I hate to repeat myself, comes back to seeing opportunity. So I guess my best example of this was when I bought the agency I bought. It wrote, and I don't know how Farmers does it, but we do an item count, right? So you write a 3-car policy, it's 3 items. You write home insurance, it's an item. Life insurance is an item plus the premium, whatever. This agency was hitting about 25, 26 items a month. Which is not, at that time at least, not good. My goal was 100. All right. And so I looked at it and really the whole process, number one, they were understaffed because the prior owner didn't want to pay for staff. Okay. Because he was making his money. What's he care? But that doesn't grow, right? That doesn't hit your bonus numbers. There's no growth there. And, you know, generally, if you're only hitting that many items a month, your retention's not going to be great. So I put those processes in place and I made sure, all right, I got a guy to telemarket. All right. I got an agency manager. I'm owning the agency. I have someone just doing sales, someone doing service. So yeah, we went from that agency went from a 2 to 3 person operation to a 6. And yeah, my payroll probably tripled what his were, but within, let's see, I bought that agency. I took control of it in the month of July. We hit 100 items in November. That's quick. That's a quick turnaround. And I knew that, hey, yeah, my payroll is going to go up, but I also knew there was a 6-figure bonus waiting for me if I hit these numbers. So I want to say this the right way for a new agent. Don't be afraid to spend money. Be careful with it. Be smart with it. I'm not the best money manager in the world, but you can't be afraid to spend money on the marketing, on the staffing, because that's what's going to get you to the finish line, plain and simple.
No, that's such good advice. And there's, as you can imagine, there's so many different ways to market, from internet leads today being more virtual to centers of influence, referrals. Was there one that you kind of took hold of and replicated? And if so, what were some tips that you would give?
I really was big into the referrals, big time. Like, we'd always do contests because contests draw people. I honestly, and it seems silly now because everybody's doing it, but back when I was doing this thing, agents weren't using social media. And I was using the heck out of social media, like all the time. And I would do silly things. We would do competitions. I think one month it was, we carried it live on, not live, but on Facebook of if my staff hit certain numbers, I'd take a pie in the face. But if they didn't, I'd get to pie them. And that got interaction. That got people calling in for quotes because they wanted to see me get pied in the face. Maybe that's my heel coming out in me as an insurance agent, but it worked. So you got to think outside the box. I never liked internet leads. I bought some, don't get me wrong. But I always believed in some, really generating your leads organically. We used to do different trade shows and home shows, and you better believe our booth would be different. We would be completely off the wall. I remember one time we went to a wedding show and everybody else was doing, these drawings for gift cards, or, you have your free pens, and that stuff's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I know we had a drawing for $100 at the adult bookstore at this wedding show, which was off the wall. And we had we had lines, we had traffic there that you wouldn't believe. So you got to think, as much as some stuff seems weird, you think outside the box on those types of things. Do what they're not doing. Look around. It's obvious advice, but see what everybody else is doing and do it different. And that was a big part of our success.
Well, and just to reiterate on the internet leads, you would probably, I would imagine somebody like you today would run with those internet leads in this virtual world and probably do some video marketing to them or something to that effect. Really utilize, because I think right now in the world we live in, and I know that phrase is probably beaten to death, but I think internet leads can be one of the best tools that an insurance agent can have if they really create a system around them, whether it be follow-up or the video dripping.
Yeah, actually, you hit it right on the head. So I'm going to retract a little bit from what I said. If you see the reality of internet leads is this: if they're not even well qualified, somewhat qualified, they're great. And you're going to know, though, if somebody's offering you internet leads for $2 a lead, you gotta second guess that. You get what you pay for. I loved, when a company would come to me and say, we got internet leads and they're $18 a pop or $20 a pop, I would stop. I'd be like, you know what? Those are probably good leads. And they were, so you get what you pay for too. I think the biggest part, so many people have such an issue with internet leads because there was too many people that weren't doing it the right way, that tried to sell you a lead for $2-3 a pop. Okay, for $2-3 a pop, you're going to get a name and an address. All right, you're not getting a qualified lead. if I got into that $15 range or more, you know, and every state's different, so I don't want to name price points out
Oh no,
here.
absolutely.
For me, I was like, okay, this actually is probably a decent lead. I remember buying life insurance leads, 40, 45 bucks a pop, you know, and it's like, ooh, that hurts to buy 100 of those right now. But, you know, out of those 45 leads or whatever, I'm going to be able to talk to like 30 of them, and I'm probably going to get 10 to 15 sales off of that, you know? So, you know, I don't want to like dog internet leads. That wasn't what I was trying to do.
Oh
But
no, I
you know
definitely.
what it is? The good ones are worth it. And, you know, we're talking when I owned my agency. I sold my agency back in 2016. So it's even grown since then
Right.
at this point.
No, and I'm glad you kind of. I totally agree with you. And for anybody that watches this back, kind of a self promo here. Farmers, it kind of has a vetted vendors, if you will, approved vendors that really make sure that the leads are good. And I love that a company like Farmers puts their money alongside the agent with what we have called cost share.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, no, anybody watching this considering the Farmers opportunity or current agents, I'm glad you said that, because I know there can be they're hard to work. I really think as long as you have the good systems in place, like you said, you're investing into the leads. I think they absolutely can change an agency.
Yeah, and anybody that just flat out makes the statement, you know, I hear it all the time because I still follow a lot of people on insurance. I really do. And, you know, I hear people make statements of, oh, internet leads are garbage, and that's it. It's like, okay, well, how much do you follow up? How much do you follow up on that lead? Well, I give them a call. You know, you might see a message left and maybe one other follow-up. My follow-up process on internet leads and any leads, really, we were doing 7 to 8 touches per prospect. You know, and that's what you have to do. You can't leave a message and be like, oh, that lead stunk. Like, really? Like, no, it's all about, that's all it's about.
Gosh, no, and let's flip back to wrestling. So obviously, there's no lead companies that generate leads for. I mean, I'm sure you probably wish you could get a bunch of. I know these people are interested in wrestling. I'm going to market to them, right? You
Yeah,
have to
great.
generate that. So talk to the agent that kind of wants to be the magnet, if you will, a marketing magnet. How do they become that and create their own aura?
You know, for me at least, it's purely entertainment and showing my personality. And I'm not talking wrestling. I am talking insurance. I am talking marketing. You know, we would just do those weird things. You know, I'm not going to be your boring agent. I'm going to be out there. And a couple agents still to this day I follow, they get that. You know, we would do those things where we'd be a sponsor at a carnival or a field days, and I'd be in a dunk tank. You know, that gets people there. Be entertaining. You know, what do they say? The average person, you can get their attention, like you have 3 seconds or something like that, 3 or 5 seconds online to get their attention. So you better do something to stand out. And that's what I made sure to always do, whether it was in person, whether it was online. You know, I wanted to grab their attention right away. You know, I'm not going to sit there and talk to you about, you know, liability limits on a car insurance policy on a video. Like, no one wants to listen to that. You know, I'm going to tell them, you know, you can win this, you can do this. This is what we can do for you. You know, we are big into sponsoring charities, you name it. It's just, you got a few seconds to capture somebody. So you better do that quick. And if you have a big personality, then put it out there. If you don't, find somebody to do it for you on your behalf.
Oh, that's great advice. Delegation can absolutely help there. Kind of a mouthpiece, if you will, like they say in wrestling.
Yeah.
So let's pivot it back a little bit. So you caught the person's attention. You are now an advisor, right? Whether it be as the manager, you're advising an audience, hey, these are the best wrestlers, right? Whereas in insurance, you're advising, hey, this is the best policy to suit your needs. Talk a little bit about the similarities and differences there.
It comes back to kind of what I said before. Give me a reaction, right? Give me something. In insurance and sales, it's give me a yes or give me a no. You better make sure I was really a hard closer when it came to insurance. I did not tiptoe around it. Okay. If I'm closing somebody, I'm closing them. They're going to know I'm closing them. I'm going to try to close them 3 times. With wrestling, it's very similar. I want a reaction, right? And I know each match what reaction I want. If you don't like something, if I didn't get a reaction from something I thought I would, I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to try it again. Does it always work? No, but most of the time you're going to get some sort of reaction, or you're going to know if people don't like it, plain and simple. But when it comes to the insurance and sales, my biggest thing, and I hate to be that 80s cliche sales guy, I was always closing, right? Always be closing. We all heard that coming up. But it's true. It's so true. And my biggest thing was I've always been okay at thinking on the fly. So if my first close didn't work, I knew how to try to close a different way. And reading people is huge. What always frustrated me, because I worked with agents, after I sold my agency, I coached agents with marketing. And it frustrated me because I talked to these people and this is how I close. And there's my script. Well, you can't just have one script. Everybody's different. You got to have 6, 7 different ways to close. Transitions right to wrestling. If I don't get a reaction this way, I got to know 3 other ways that I'm going to try to get a reaction out of people. So as much as crazy as it sounds, insurance and wrestling are miles apart. They're really not. Because it all comes down to what we said before. It's all marketing and sales, plain and simple.
That's awesome. Well, I'll kind of hit you with a lightning round, and you because I want to end it on a wrestling kind of where you are, and kind of what you're thinking for the future, what this year will hold for these wrestlers. So I got a list ready.
You go for it.
Chris Jericho.
Fade into obscurity.
Ooh, that's hey.
That's bold. I know it's bold.
He's 50, so and nothing against 50, but
no.
How about Finn Balor?
Underutilized. Underutilized. He needs an opportunity at AEW.
Ooh, that's interesting. Is that? And how about a Seth Rollins?
He's going to get right back on top of the mountain. He's going to be main event picture. I really believe that.
Good deal. And so this question, we'll kind of, and this, who was your favorite, either current manager or past manager that you'd say that's the guy?
Didn't even have to think. Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Not a Paul Heyman guy?
I like Paul Heyman's number 2. Ooh. Paul Heyman's number 2. I mimic my character. I wanted a mesh between Bobby Heenan and Paul Heyman. And without me even saying that, people have told me that before. They're like, your character, you're like both of those guys. And I'm like, perfect. That's what I want.
Oh, that's awesome. So for everybody watching, how can they watch some Team JD? How can they watch the epic tale that you guys are putting together?
Well, big on social media. If you go to my website, www.imwithdavis.com, that I got it hooked up right now to our social media. So you can follow myself, follow all the guys right on Facebook, also Instagram. And then we also have with IWTV a couple times we're on pay-per-views with them as well. And I'm always posting everything. So if you follow my fan page, which you go to that website, you'll get all the videos will be right there. And also all the information on, we have a whole new merch line actually about to come out. And so you can check all that stuff there, but social media is the #1 way to do it.
Awesome. Yeah. Hope more people will check you out. I hope we can expand you into southern Minnesota here.
I'd love it. Absolutely.
I appreciate you joining me today. It was a cool mixture of insurance and wrestling, and I hope maybe we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely, Keith. Anytime you let me know. Had a great time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Joe, and I will